in general, how do the police officers feel about Mr. Robinson?
It's not. Well, we're neutral.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that we have a problem with him. It's just we know whenever there's one of his demonstrations, there's going to be trouble.
This was an interesting catch. Couple from London. And the young lady turned out to be a police officer in downtown London. And the young man is a shop owner in northern London. I think I got that right. So, got some nice perspectives here on Tommy. As much as I could find out is that the lady was sympathetic, the police officer was sympathetic to Mr. Robinson and what he has to say, but she was too keen on his followers. So, anyway, that's where this one flies, and I think you'll enjoy this one. And I'd like to get your perspective on it. Well, I know I have a lot of subscribers from the UK, so over here the Trump supporters are called deplorables, and I guess they're going to need for you guys over there too. So anyway, if you know what you do, if you like it, care, share. Go hit the appropriate buttons and contribute if you can, PayPal, or go to my website. The shop button still doesn't work. It's still swamped. I still haven't got around to fixing that. So let's get into this one, and I'll catch you on the other side. God bless you. Yes, what part of London do you live in?
So he lives in North London. I live by Tower Bridge, so you live like.
I live in the suburbs.
Yeah, whereas I live like right in the city.
All right.
Yeah, have you ever been?
No, I'd love to.
Shame.
Well, I don't know anymore. I mean, John Cleese says London isn't London, it's part of British anymore.
Don't listen to him. It's fine. We've got a lot of immigration there, but we've got we're part of Europe, so that's just, it's always been like that. Since our parents were young, we've had that level of immigration. It's still British. We've still got Big Ben, we've still got Tower of London, we've still got all of those.
Still got a lot of stabbings.
Yeah.
But it's not
Still
as many. I think it's like 100 a year, something like that.
No, there's more than that this year.
She's a police officer.
Yeah.
So she has to deal with it at
There's a lot in where I work.
and no guns as well,
Yeah, no guns.
in the UK.
We've got spray and stick.
Yeah, but the stabbings are up, I understand.
They are, but
They kind of fluctuate every year. We've had quite a lot in where I work this year.
it's mostly gang related.
Yeah, it's never, it's hardly ever random.
You're not in danger really if you're just going about your business.
Yeah.
I consider myself safe there, really. She doesn't. But she doesn't live in a
Well, all police officers put themselves in danger. I mean, you get dressed every day, go out and look for trouble.
Yeah,
You're pretty much going to find it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
She brings it
Tip of
home.
the hat to you
Thank you.
for doing that.
Don't worry about her.
Now, are you familiar with this gentleman, of course?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are.
And
I didn't know you
He's
guys
not very
were.
popular at back
No,
home.
he's
I beg your
not.
pardon?
He's not very popular
back
at
home.
Not according to the people I speak to, not according to the demonstration I've seen for him.
Yeah, well,
But that's what I'm saying. They're not very popular, like that group. They're not. I don't know
particularly
why.
in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Don't
well,
like
of
him
course,
at all.
he's speaking
never.
truth to power. That's why he's not popular with them.
No, absolutely. So it's quite hard.
He's popular with the people, though.
You're not really supposed to say you're a fan of him. You'll get it. It's like saying you don't recycle.
Yeah.
Sort of like being here and, being a Trump supporter in
Absolutely,
San Francisco.
Absolutely.
It's that kind of thing. You don't say you like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
My friend here needs a MAGA
I
hat
do.
for
I
her
have to
dad.
bring it home.
Oh,
And you seem to be the man who can help us out.
sure I can.
Yeah.
I am.
Thank you very
So
much.
how do in general, how do the police officers feel about Mr. Robinson?
It's not. Well, we're neutral.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that we have a problem with him. It's just we know whenever there's one of his demonstrations, there's going to be trouble all the time. That's the only reason we get a bit.
I think what the problem is with generally is that a lot of the
Thank you
people
very much.
who
Sorry.
a lot of people who do support him
Are idiots. That's
are
why.
idiots, despite the fact that what he's saying there's
Makes
nothing
sense.
really that controversial
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
He just attracts a lot of people.
He attracts the people who are
savoury.
genuinely like racist, horrible people.
But there's also some things about how the police are cracking down on what I would say PC correctness speech. You know,
Well, we
things
don't have freedom of speech like you guys do.
Yeah.
Speaker's Corner, you do.
Yeah, it seems strange because I've talked to people that they get harassed or they're getting arrested for.
It honestly depends, because it does work both ways. I haven't had to make an arrest yet like that because I'm not doing that paperwork.
But it's kind of dicey. What would you do? I mean, it seems rather dicey to be arresting people for what they say.
They don't. It doesn't happen a lot because police officers just don't want it back. They're just like, there's no point. It doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't really go anywhere.
I mean, when people like on Facebook are getting.
Oh no, we don't really
Once
do that.
happened,
Yeah,
there was
once
a guy who
we don't
taught
really do
his
that.
dog to do a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't really go
Didn't
down
go-
very well with the public.
But so what? It was comedy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like the guy was promoting Nazism.
no, he did it to piss off his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's internet culture, I think, which is a lot of people can't take a joke anymore, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't.
But if it happens at all,
It's
it's a
happened that one
slippery
time,
slope
yeah.
because
Yeah,
then
you're
it can
absolutely right.
it
No,
sets
I
a
agree with
precedent.
that. I agree with that.
And then, in the future, if they can always go, well, and where does it stop?
No,
The thing is,
exactly.
it never
That's-
goes
that's
anywhere. That didn't go
communism, isn't
anywhere.
it? No, did it
The one
not?
with the dog, that didn't go anywhere. So it was no one cares. Like the courts don't care.
What
No
they
one
do
cares.
take seriously, if you're inciting violence
Well, that should be taken
or
seriously.
racial hatred, is that another one?
No, it all comes under public order. Like, it's all under the same kind of thing.
You do have to say some pretty severe things to
Yeah,
be
to actually get
It's not
arrested.
quite as bad as you think, but it's not as free as it is here. I don't feel like I can't say what I want.
Yeah, you can.
So,
But it's even bleeding in over here. That's what I'm saying. It starts bleeding like in New York right now.
yeah.
Mayor de Blasio, I call him the Blasio, all the different. But he just initiated a $250,000 fine if you use the phrase illegal immigrant.
Well, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not that bad in England.
But yeah, it's not that bad.
Not that
Well,
bad
that's what I'm
in
saying. I
It's
mean,
nowhere near that bad in England.
but that's to say it starts bleeding into other cultures and other places. If it starts somewhere, it goes.
It's like freedom of speech here is like a real stalwart of the American life, isn't it?
Tell me, that's what I'm doing. I mean,
And I think that's one of the brilliant things about America.
Oh, hey, man.
And then you think that the people who are saying really horrible things, by saying them, people can hear them and then challenge them. And if no one's saying anything, you don't know who the idiots are.
Yeah, and I think that's what they come down on Tommy Robinson down about is like, if you listen to the man,
Yeah.
if you listen to him, he's not inciting violence.
That's the thing. What he's saying makes sense. It's just the people who follow him are absolute idiots. They was fighting. They are like horrible.
And also what he did, it wasn't necessarily what he said. The reason he got put in jail is because he was breaching a court order to attend. He was breaking. At home we have a thing where it's confidentiality of people who are of court cases, unless there are certain restrictions. There are certain restrictions on court cases, and he was reporting outside a courthouse where there were.
Yeah, but that was kind of, they bent that too, because he was actually reporting on a report that was already public.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was already out in the public, and he was just rereading the report. And the court case itself was already over. It was in the sentencing phase.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he could have influenced the outcome.
No, you're right.
So again, the authorities seemed to like jump the shark on that one, and take it farther than it was.
The court of public opinion, isn't it? That sort of.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on with the authorities over there in England. I mean, look at Brexit. The people vote for it, and then the government goes, nah.
Well, this is it, Mike. You voted.
I voted
you
leave,
to
he
leave.
voted to
I
stay,
voted to remain.
so-
And even as a Remainer, I think that they're really taking the piss out of the democratic process. I do.
And even as someone who voted to leave, I'm just like, it just doesn't matter now. Like it just doesn't matter anymore.
I think it's gonna. What's gonna screw up our country isn't the actual Brexit. It's the complete faffing around
Yeah, they're just
before
walking
that.
about for years.
It's been more than 3 years now and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't necessarily think this will happen, but this is how things like civil wars happen. And we had one of those.
We did.
We had one of those, and it didn't go very well. And so
Yeah, we had a war with you too, you know. I mean, that didn't go too well
we're
for
all
you.
friends now, though, right?
Yeah, well, that's it.
We
Well,
can laugh
I mean, of course, there's so much kinship between. I mean, we got a lot from England. We got the Magna Carta. We got the basis for our laws.
The language.
Thank you. The language. Thank you.
What will you try?
That you guys have taken the U out of.
Yeah, we kind of bastardized it and tweaked it a bit, but you know.
But yeah, I think Britain is divided at the moment, and it's palpable. You can feel that there's a big division, and people, you can't talk about Brexit in public because it turns into
Really?
an argument. I mean, it's unwise. It's like the whole down south you have the don't talk about politics, religion, and sex thing, right? And
I didn't get that memo.
and it used to
Now
be.
you know why you're getting funny looks in the bar.
I think in the old, back in a few years, talking about politics would be a friendly disagreement, but now you have
Now it's
stand up
aggressive.
rows about it.
I'm not so sure if that wasn't instilled to go ahead and, because to me, again, having that speech allows us to go ahead and work out our differences. When we start quelling our speech, the divides start
Yeah, exactly.
growing because then suspicion grows.
It is a worrying time, I think, but you know, we've been around for thousands of years, so hopefully.
Yeah, I have hope, and you know, the fact that every time we go through these cycles, we come out on top again. You know, we keep on pushing that envelope a little bit further towards freedom.
And I think the thing is with Brexit as well, it was so close. It was 52% to 49%.
Yeah, wasn't it?
And then was it 51, something like
It was
that?
like 51-49. It was close.
Yeah, I didn't add up that, did it? And it was so close that it's not like there was a 70% thing. So there's such a division.
Pretty much half and half.
Whatever happens, half the people are going to be really pissed off. So it's like it is a worrying time, and for the economy, like I said about the exchange rate, and for people. I run a small business, so and I get a lot of my products from Europe. So if they start putting tariffs on things, am I going to go out of business? You know, so it is a worrying time, but
I think that kind of levels out, though. I think there will be, you know, some. Because, I mean, there was a time our country was run by tariffs alone. We didn't have income tax and all that.
Yeah.
It was run on tariffs, and other countries pretty much do the same. So, you know, I don't know how much of that is manipulation by the big banks, by the politicians, to go ahead and keep on bleeding us, which was what they're real good at, you know.
Well, back in the 80s, there was something like around an 82% income tax for the highest earners in the UK, and I think the highest is 45%. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty high.
But of course, that's what we went to war with you guys over, you know.
But hey, someone's got to pay for the NHS.
We do have the free healthcare, which I know people don't always think is a great thing over here, but when you break your arm, it's a wonderful thing. If you've got, or if you break your arm, or if you've got cancer, the health service is the best thing in the world. If you've got something a bit wrong with you can't quite put your finger on, it becomes quite tough.
The problem I have with universal health care like that, put it in the hands of the government, is I look and go, well, what is the government? How do you trust the government with your health? I mean, considering how much they screw up things.
It's true.
You know,
It's the one thing that's done alright, I think.
I have to say that we say there's a division, but I would say somewhere in the high 90s, 90% of people in the UK are really pro NHS. It's like it's like the BBC. It's like a national institution.
We're proud of it.
We're very proud of the people who work in the NHS.
except for Mick Jagger came over here to get his health care.
A lot of people do, and like my mum, who's retired and she's got quite a good pension, she goes for private healthcare when she needs something quickly. So we do have that option. But for
Most people can't afford it.
the people who can't afford it and for the downtrodden, it really is it feels to us like a really good safety net. And it's got its problems. It really has got its issues and stuff. But I'd say that's something that does unite the UK. We are very proud of our NHS.
There's a whole, they've had other things about healthcare industry and have universal
because I also don't trust the pharmaceutical industry. And their influence on governments. So if they start doing things like mandatory vaccines, I'm not trusting the government for mandatory anything.
It should be mandatory. I don't think it should be. I think people should have freedom over their own bodies to do what they want.
You're not going to give it to vaccines to, and then it's dead at 2 years old, and you're going, why did he die?
See, we don't agree on everything. But then you see, what we've noticed since we've been here is the monetization of the medical industry. You see on the television, the commercials for prescription medication.
Well,
it seems crazy to us. And then you have people, and then you hear about the amount of people who are prescribed things like opioids over here and stuff.
Absolutely.
We don't
I got into a conversation just yesterday with a gentleman who's a PR for the pharmaceutical companies.
How did that go?
We went into this about the influence of the pharmaceutical, the opioids were that is killing more people than all the illegal drugs combined. And how the influence of pharmaceutical company to the governments, why they aren't cracking down on the pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies have the influence over the government, which goes back to the medical universal health care, is like how much influence do they have with the people that are making the laws that so it's a vicious circle.
We do have lobbies similar to that in the UK, but I don't think it's quite as pervasive as it is here. And you see that there's often things that might change rules, things like gun control and stuff like that. Like back home, no one can understand why guns are legal here. Obviously, but we know when you read about it, you know it's part of the Constitution. It's part of who you are as a people. And if they did bring it in, it's like taking away our NHS. It's like, how dare you? This is what we are.
That would start a civil war here.
Absolutely. So it's very easy for people to just take a look and say, well, it would be nice. Yeah, we read that.
Yeah, it's like,
So on one hand, you think to yourself, well, if no guns existed at all anywhere, that would be the best thing. But we've gone too far.
But that's impossible.
Exactly.
It's impossible. As being a police. That outlaws are outlaws because they don't follow the law. They're going to get guns.
Yeah, they're going to. It's just a lot harder.
Yeah, so it's quite. When people don't think about it, they say bad guns. But when you think about it, you think, well, it's just nowhere near that easy. And you know that it can't be. And I think we're one of the only countries that police officers don't carry guns. We were talking about it the other day, but all of Europe do. The UK doesn't. I think maybe Australia don't.
It's like New Zealand or something.
New Zealand.
There's like 5 or 6.
But it's and a lot of police officers we've spoken to here are sort of quite scared for your safety, aren't they? The fact that she doesn't carry a gun. But it's.
I get a stick and a spray and some handcuffs.
But then when something happens, like let's say the London bombing,
we've got firearmed officers, so there are officers with guns.
Yeah, you would have like a tactical force.
So they'll be like, we need firearms, and they'll come running down.
Now there's a lot of questions about the London bombings too. Like we have a lot of questions about 9/11 and some of our, mass shootings that go against the grain of the official story.
Yeah.
And when I think back upon that, the bombings there, how there were some questions about one bus was taken off route.
Oh, right. I haven't heard that. Have you heard that?
I have, but it's when, when Russell Square was having loads of road work and regeneration and that, and it was going on for years.
And then there was questions about the fact that the guys that allegedly they ran down and shot were patsies. They were actually not the bombers.
I hadn't heard that.
For the tube bombing.
The ones on the tube about 15 years ago.
The ones on the tube at London Bridge.
Yeah, there's a lot of anomalies about that. It's sort of like here we had the Vegas shooting, Las Vegas massacre. We still don't know the motive for that. I know for a fact that it was not one shooter from up there. From what I've talked to eyewitnesses that were there. And they said those shots came from ground level in different directions. I talked to police officers at work that night in Las Vegas, said there were multiple attacks in multiple casinos along the entire strip. You didn't hear that in the mainstream media. So, these things that happen that I hear from eyewitnesses, that do not match the official story. So it seems like the London bombing, the same thing. So it's these things that's why I go back to the medical care. Why should I trust a government that it's going to lie to me about Vegas, 9/11, the London bombings with my medical care?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to lie to me about that, I'm going to put my trust in my medical to them?
Well, like I say, when we're most thankful is those things you need care for, immediate care.
Yeah.
Broken bones, like cancer, they're very good with cancer. If you're diagnosed with cancer within 2 weeks, you'll be getting treatment.
But what happens if, let's say, a breakout, a virus, a medical, a pandemic comes along, and all of a sudden they come out with everybody's got to line up to get these shots.
Interesting. Let me ask you this though: what do you think the solution is to the mass shooting problem that you've got here? What would you say is the solution to that?
Well, I would say that if you arm the people that want to be armed, I mean, it'll give you for real. I mean, just for instance, here we are in the public. We got several hundred people around us. All right, let's say 50% of them are armed. Let's say 2 idiots come in and try to do something stupid. How long would they last?
Yeah, I see. So it's, okay.
I mean, seriously, the good people that go, well, this ends right now.
But I suppose that's because there's so many guns here in the first place, right? So you think that if everyone's got a gun, I need a gun. Because I'm on a level playing field.
Yeah, but I think it also, just like driving a car, you ought to take a test, to learn how to use the stupid thing, and
Yeah.
So you think there should be more stricter
controls?
Yeah, but not too much. I'm saying at least go through a course.
Right.
I don't think you should have to be licensed, but go through a course in how to use it before you get one.
And you know who's got them.
So, I don't even know if you want to know who uses it. I'm not comfortable with the government knowing too much information.
No.
I just don't. I'm not comfortable with government knowing too much.
You're all for true liberty.
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand.
I trust the people more than I trust the government.
Yeah, because you don't know what their agendas are.
Well, anytime you concentrate power, you take away from the individual. And I go back to what Thomas Jefferson said. I trust the common man to come up with the solution to his problem better than any elitist government can.
Yeah.
And that's it. We talking together here can come up with the solution. We can work it out.
Well, what we have back home, I don't know if it's the same here, is the whole of the government pretty much went to private schools. They went to Cambridge and Oxford, never had a proper job, went straight into politics. Yeah. So they haven't got.
There's only like one or two really.
Yeah.
Like what's that woman?
There's a few. There was Ed Balls who I had a proper job. There's one or two who are like the.
And there's that woman who's getting from behaved, which is like really common, just from like somewhere, some little town up north. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, she's great. I really like her.
So you have a couple of people who are actual
like
people
for the people
who end up in politics, and they often get hounded out by the establishment.
Yeah, she's getting death threats.
It's not any much difference here because, again, our founding fathers did not want this to become career politicians. You were supposed to be like a shop owner and then, go do your 2 or 4 years and then go back to your shop.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to spend 35, 40 years on the public dole like we have now. Because then you get removed, and that's what we have, like you do. People get removed from the people they govern. They really don't understand our problems because they're getting. I mean, you'll get some good guys that go into government here, and they say they get elected. You go to Washington, all of a sudden you got surrounded by a bunch of yes people, and you're getting pampered, and that corruption.
Yeah.
And so people that stay in politics get that self-important. I know better than you.
Exactly. I've been elected, therefore I am the best.
Great.
It's like a god complex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they wanted us to recycle our people here. But that, like all things, well, another thing Thomas Jefferson said, From time to time, the tree of liberty must be watered by the blood of patriots and tyrants. And he suggested about every 20 years.
You don't get political speeches like that anymore, do you?
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know.
You get Theresa May crying outside number 10. Go back inside.
Anyway, we better get cracking.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking. And stay safe out there on those streets.
Would you mind if I got a photo?
Not at all. Go right ahead. Yes, right.
Only interesting people make this cut. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely day.
Have a lovely day.
All right. God bless.
It's a nice couple. I mean, nice. I think they're reasonable. I think, you know, they weren't, they weren't inflexible, let's say. You know, they were reasonable people. So thank you for stopping by, and again, remember to pray for me out there on those streets, and I'll see you on the streets.